what that means, Ruth.
What does that mean?
It means we're going to listen to my interview with Butterfly Boucher.
Your interview with your new girlfriend.
Yeah, totally. She's awesome.
Yes, I know.
And can I say, she must have enjoyed herself because afterwards she actually wrote on her Facebook page and mentioned Triple Z.
Well, she mentioned a lot of radio stations
she did,
that
but that's
she'd been
not
talking
important
to,
right now.
Davina.
She did say that she's had the best night ever. She's done the last 3 nights. She's chatted to Australian radio stations and she loved them so much. And she did thank Triple Z as one of the stations that were just awesome.
Well, that's good.
You can hear us giggling through it.
Ooh.
Have a listen.
Oh. Here's a bit of Butterfly Boucher interview that Davina did last Thursday morning. It's a great interview. If you aren't aware of Butterfly Boucher, check her out. We're going to play a track after the interview as well, so you get a chance to listen. It's 8:30, 102.1 FM. It's 4ZZZ, and we are the Dykes on the Mykes.
My name's Davina, and I'm welcoming to Dykes on Mykes tonight Butterfly Boucher. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
I am so excited.
I'm in Nashville right now.
I know.
Can you hear my accent?
Yeah, it's so thick.
Yeah.
You're in Nashville. What are you doing? You went from Radelaide to Nashville.
I know. That's quite a step. There were a lot of steps in between there. When I was 3, we moved to Sydney. So I was born in Adelaide, but I can't really say that I'm exactly from Adelaide. But it was definitely a home base because all my relatives were there. But we lived in Sydney until I was about 6 years old, and then after that we travelled around. My whole family just travelled right up until I joined my sister's band, and the rest is my history.
So travelling's in your blood then. Is that why you ended up in Nashville, or was it the lure of the music?
Probably both. Definitely the music was... The first time I came over to America was as part of my sister's band. It was called the Mercy Bell and sung background vocals. And we were invited to come to America and have some publishing meetings. And so we did that, and we had family friends in Nashville. So it was a nice, pretty place to stay.
Sure.
And it's also quite central here in Nashville. So it just kind of ended up being another home base for us. And then we ended up getting signed out of LA. And, you know, when you get signed in America, they tend to want you to be based in America. Yeah. You know, it's a lot easier that way. So we did that, and then a couple of years later we got dropped from the label. I went solo. I tried to go to London. I tried to live in London, but it was too hard. Yeah. So expensive, and I love it, but it's just like, there's nowhere to be. It's not a good place to be when you've got absolutely no money.
Yeah,
so
true.
I ended up heading up north to where my sister lived, and just demoing as many songs as I possibly could, and I ended up getting some interest from some producers who happened to be from Nashville. So I ended up coming all the way back to Nashville.
Full circle.
And, it was kind of interesting. I never thought that I would be coming back, but I did, and these producers, we hit it off, and my first album was recorded, my first, official solo album was recorded here with those guys.
Great.
And then it's just been my home base ever since. Then I got signed as well in America. So then again, they're like, please stay here.
Awesome. Well, look, recently you've actually come back to Australia. You've actually just finished touring with Missy Higgins, actually. You performed here at the Tivoli in Brisbane. Look, you co-produced her album. You co-wrote and recorded songs. You've even done YouTube videos together. What brought this collaboration about? I love the YouTube video, by the way.
Thank you. Is it None the Wiser one?
None the Wiser.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
It took us so long to get that take. Like, it was a really hard song to play. And we'd learned it like an hour before we tried to shoot it. And it was a silly idea. But the only way we got through it was to be stupid. So there you go.
Awesome.
How did that happen? I'd obviously heard of Missy Higgins over the years. But I'd never met her, and she had heard of me too, but we just never met, and we both happened to play a festival here in America a couple of summers ago, and so we finally met each other. And I didn't know that she'd taken a break from music. I had no idea of this. So, you know, I was talking to her and I said, so are you on tour? Is that why you're over here? And she was like, no, I'm not really doing that. And I was like, what? I didn't understand. I didn't realise where she was at.
Yep.
So, but I think something about being on that festival really inspired her again to think maybe this is what I want to do and maybe it's time. So she ended up asking me if I wanted to do some songwriting with her. And I was like, yeah, I come to Nashville. Come and visit me in Nashville and we'll have fun and hopefully get the inspiration and spark back for you. You know, I sympathise with what she was going through.
Yeah.
So she did. She took it up, and we ended up writing songs, and then I ended up demoing them at my house, and people were responding very positively to the songs, but also the production on them. So it just kind of all happened very naturally. We wrote songs, and then she was looking for producers, and she was actually talking to a friend of mine here in Nashville, Brad Jones, who I worked with on my first debut record. That's one of the producers I came back to Nashville for. And I got jealous. I was like, oh, I want to be part of the album as well. And she'd already asked me if I would play some instruments on it, you know, just because I was already so involved in the writing. And I said, well, I'd actually like to be more involved and co-produce it with Brad. And after a bit of thought, she's like, that's a great idea. Let's do it. So we did, but then, and that happened.
and then you co-wrote to you Unashamed Desire, and you guys recorded two different versions. One where Missy's doing lead vocals and you're moonlighting in it, and then one where you do the same thing.
Yeah. So we both have versions on.
Very different versions, though. Great versions of the song. But why that decision?
Well, that was another thing that just kind of came. Well, it wasn't like some big strategy plan. It was
It wasn't mine's better.
Yeah, I'll show you how it's done.
That's right.
No, it wasn't that at all. It was actually when we wrote the song and then we demoed it, I ended up singing it on the demo because it kind of sounded a bit more like in the style of what I do. So it just was like, we didn't even really talk about it. It was just, I just put down the lead vocal on the demo. And so during the time of writing with her, I had also been working on my album. I'd been working on it for about a year. So I was kind of in the thick of that. And when that song came up, I was like, this really suits where I'm headed on my own album. So she was in Australia, I was in Nashville, and the time difference is like kind of upside down. So I sent her the track in the morning and the demo, and I said, do you mind if I put this on my album? Then that whole day I ended up just going ahead and recording it. And by the end of the day, I got an email back from Missy saying, hey, I sent the track to my manager and he wants me to put it on my album too.
Awesome.
And then I was like, well, can you do that? I mean, are you allowed to do that? That's against the rules. And then people I was like, is that going to confuse people? But it's actually an old school kind of thing, and apparently it's not that uncommon, or it wasn't back in the 70s or whatever. When two people wrote a song, they would put it on their album and they'd do their own version.
Yeah, totally.
So I was like, well, that's kind of cool. I'm up for it if she's up for it. I didn't realize it would be a first single for her.
Yeah, well, it's worked out well.
That was a nice.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I think it's fun. No, it's happened. Yeah.
Well, this was just a nice connection. I mean, after.